ridiculous, people are going to be so cross. And that's when it got really fun. I mean, we were watching it at Martin's, and even having seen it like 150 times, actually approaching the last sort of 20 minutes, it was incredible, the atmosphere, wasn't it? It was just so exciting because we knew everybody was watching at the same time. And it's a very rare thing in this age, a kind of communal viewing experience like that. And then as soon as it finished, everyone's phones just went crazy.
And we went to, when I was showing Jeremy Loving on a recce Barts where, you know, it happened, and I was saying to him, there's quite a lot of speculation, it's quite a big thing now, and he said, I said, those people over there are probably fans, and he said, no, I think they're nurses, Sue. At which point I heard somebody go, and this is where he fell.
So is the solution something that you could actually figure out from watching what's already aired? Or
yes, what's keeping you all for God's sake? The important thing to remember is there really are only a few ways you can fall off a roof and survive. It's not black magic, alas.
Yeah. So, so is there anything else you're willing to tell us in terms of teasing what the solution? I mean, has there been anything online that you've seen that's actually got it right?
We can't really comment on the online stuff because that gives away something, and also we haven't read it all, so we don't know everything. But it's a rational explanation. We did know it before we shot it.
We just didn't have the money to shoot it at the time.
Yeah. And we shot quite a lot of what you're going to see. It was already done at the end of series 2, so we knew how it was going to be done. And when you see the answer, you'll see that yes, we had to know in advance. It had to be plotted out.
Right.
So it's. I mean, for me, I'm really quite interested in it. All the talk tends to be about how did you do it. And I don't believe that's the thing that people are really most excited about seeing. Because that's just an answer.
How John's going to react.
Yeah, I think it's when John and Sherlock meet again. We can tell you that moment in the finished episode 1 is electrifying.
Yeah,
really,
and it goes on and on.
It's great. So I think that's the showstopper. And that sequence, quite lengthy sequence, I think it's probably my favourite Sherlock moment of Sherlock we've made because it's lengthy. We go out all guns blazing because it's a long, complicated emotional journey. And it's extremely funny. So, I think it's a joy and a delight, and that is the showstopper of the episode. And of course, yes, you'll get an answer, but not without some teasing on the way.
And that answer also involves, from what we've seen online, that Andrew Scott is coming back to shoot a little bit as well, who of course plays our beaches-loving.
We needed a dead body.
Moriarty.
So Andrew's cheap. So.
Yeah.
And he looks quite like Moriarty, so we got him.
Yeah, it was actually cheaper to get Andrew Scott back to do that than to get a mannequin. In the long run, there's no point. And that's been a whole new career for him now. If you watch murder mysteries, he's often dead bodies now. It's great.
But he is dead.
He is dead.
He is dead.
Shot himself through the brainstem. You don't come back from that.
There is a funny thing a lot of people have asked us about. He can't be dead because you don't see the back of his head come off. This is 8:30 on BBC One. There are certain things you still can't show.
And that's interesting because you killed off like a central main Sherlock Holmes character. I mean, do you feel that eventually in the show that the very last episode that you could actually kill off Sherlock or John Watson, is that possible? Is that
you can. They've been solving crimes in Baker Street for over 110 years. They're never going to die, are they? And if he did, he'd just pop up behind another tree.
There's something about that actually, that mostly in all the years that people have done news stories and pastiches, they sort of generally play fair.
Yeah.
There's something about it where you want to feel they'll always be in Baker Street, whether it's in 1888 or in the present day. You just want to feel they're always going to be there. So it's kind of the right thing to do is not to make anything definitive like that.
Yeah.
Except
So in the original stories, Moriarty wasn't it?
Yeah, Moriarty dies. He's dead.
So
he shot himself in the face. What do you want? Do you think they were up on that rooftop and fake suicide at each other? So you got it back. waste of a scene. Were you faking? I was faking too.
It would feel like it would feel like a little bit cheap. So how much Mycroft can we expect in?
Quite a lot.
There is quite a lot. It's really nice, Mycroft.
We can't really say without giving anything away, I suppose. But yeah, it's a lot of nice stuff, and it's obviously the big thing we wanted to explore was in the original Conan Doyle story. Dr. Watson's reaction is really dealt with very quickly. He sort of forgives him, and we just let you know that that's just not going to happen. There's a massive impact. If your best friend had pretended to be dead, and you moved on, and then just appeared and said hi, have you missed me? That's going to have a big impact. So we wanted to explore how it really affected all of the regulars, really, all of his friends and extended family.
You know, he seems so cold towards his brother sometimes. What's your take on what Mycroft feels towards Sherlock? Do they have some bitter family history there, or is it just...
I mean, we were very inspired by a masterpiece film called The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes by Billy Wilder, which, if you haven't seen, you must see. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. Very funny, very melancholy film. And Billy Wilder and his co-writer, Izzy Diamond, did what we sort of feel is like they took a logical step on from Conan Doyle, which is to make... Mycroft is the British government, which is what Doyle says, but in a way he's almost like the sinister British government. He's like, the Diogenes Club is like a behind-the-scenes force. And they do this, they have a much sort of spikier relationship, which we just thought was much more interesting than them just getting on.
Right.
So, but it all comes from a point of caring. I mean, even the very first episode when he's sort of encouraging John to spy on Sherlock, it's because he cares. He sort of wants to bring him inside the tent.
Right.
And really, in opposition to Mycroft, you suddenly realise that Sherlock is like a loose cannon. He's like a crazy younger brother.
You know, at one point Benedict said that there's going to be that they were signed on for a 4th season, and there's this little bit of scrambling of our star is sort of speaking a little prematurely. Where's that at this point?
Well, to be honest, I'm sure Benedict is probably the single biggest yes you need to get. So if he has commissioned another series, good. Well done. We didn't know we had commissioning power, but we are going to get him to announce other things. Mark and I quite like announcements, and maybe Benedict said it on a red carpet. That would
I think he asked for his own first, however.
Yeah, I think you get that line wrong.
No, we're going to send him back out.
You know, they are optioned for the 4th series. We just haven't worked out when we're going to do it.
Excellent.
So, have you commissioned series 4?
Yeah.
Sue commissioned series 2, actually. We were told when we went onto our breakfast television program, one of Sue's very first appearances on television, and she was told, she was briefed to say nothing about series 2. And what she said was, yes, there's definitely going to be. That's it, and I think you just commissioned it. You self-commissioned. In the middle of the BBC, you walked in and robbed them of 3 films. It was brilliant. So that's how we do it in this show. It's your turn.
Yeah. You're going to send Benedict back out with just plans for 5, 6, 7, 8.
You know, since they're so busy doing feature films, it does raise the question, given the rising stature, has anyone ever broached the idea of doing a Sherlock as a feature film?
Well, we sort of do, but you know, it's an interesting thought. They take ages to set up films because people who work films are really slow compared to television. And you know, we'd never want to do anything that reduce the quantity that we're making even further. But you never know. Who knows? We do have by accident and surprise, the 2 biggest British film stars out there in our show. And Mark and I were just thinking, well, what if we were inventing Sherlock now? And we said, you know who'd be creating this? It would be Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. And they would say, well, you wouldn't even get them in the same film. Poxy British series made in a big leaky shed in Wales. But we do get them, and they're always delighted to come back. And same blokes as ever, although they're much more famous than us and won't talk to us.
You announced 3 hints to the series 3 episodes: Rat, Wedding, and Beau. Wow. The first episode is called The Empty Hearse. What can you sort of tease to a little on that? Obviously, we find out resolved last season's cliffhanger.
That's it. It's a very short one. We just kick off with a little reprise and then a sort of, well, no, it's based on The Empty House, but only a little. I think Doyle himself would have admitted that the whole reasoning behind that story was just an excuse to bring Sherlock back. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's a similar thing. I mean, it's got a different plot essentially to The Empty House. But I don't want to give too much away. But the enormously important thing is the impact that Sherlock's return has on John Watson particularly. And then something with a rat in it. Maybe a biscuit tin, I don't know.
And the second episode, it's a Sign of Three seems to reference when Watson meets the love of his life, Mary.
Yes.
And the second hint is wedding.
Yes.
So therefore we should conclude from that.
Well, I can, hot off the presses from 110 years ago, John does get married to Mary Watson. Yeah. We hoped you wouldn't go and sneak ahead and read the book. But that's what happens when the secret is out before you're born. Damn it. And, keep watching this panel for a treat later.
So if John does get married, does Sherlock need to find a new roommate?
Well, I think there is only one human being in the world who would tolerate being Sherlock. Who says he lets him move out? Get married now. Why are you living with her?
It's a big flat, we've established that.
Yes.
It's like the one in Friends, it's much bigger than it really would be.
The whole floor would be up to here.
We keep adding rooms.
We do, actually, it's growing.
Since we're not here, we can talk about them. What would fans be surprised to learn about what Benedict and Martin are like on the set, or their approach to their characters that they
Violence, I think the violence. The mood swings, the clown costume. Well, they have a natural chemistry. We knew it from the moment that they read together.
Yeah.
The show was in front of our eyes, and they just get on tremendously well. They're just completely different people, very like Sherlock and John are. But they really just have a really good laugh, and it all transmits itself onto the screen. I think you can really see how much love there is behind the camera.
I suppose the biggest surprise, when you encounter them, if you encounter them in character first, is that actually Benedict is the goofy one, and Martin is the very sardonic one, very dry one. So there's almost the other way around in a way. But they're just. I'm just thinking that what you were saying. That when they read for the parts. Yeah. We auditioned them. We auditioned them in a room, not even a nice room.
When they read together. Yeah. No, that's true though. I mean, Benedict has he's really quite puppyish and sort of bumbly, isn't he? Yeah. And Martin is much more sort of direct and earthed, really. I mean, maybe they should just put each other's costumes on and see what happens.
I think it'd be brilliant if Benedict solved a crime.
Yeah. Somebody asked me earlier what difference there is now, because they're these huge fans. I said, well, actually now they've got their own trailers. Because the first series, remember we put them in a three-way. And the second series. Second series was only a two-way, and now they have their own trailer.
They've split up.
You made a reference to a treat, and I think that's time to give them that treat, right? I'll start lining up after this plays. We'll start taking questions from the audience.
Can I do a bit of housekeeping here on this thing?
Actual housekeeping.
Actual housekeeping in a naggy way. If you're filming this at all, would you mind turning your cameras off now on this? This is it's not a finished version yet. It's from the second episode.
You're cheering a number.
It's you're the first to see it. It's not dubbed. It's not finished. But also, we have promised them in the UK that it's not going to end up online anywhere, or we are not going to discuss the content of it. So please don't let us down on that. Thank you.
You won't promise.
The slow humanization that John encourages is all part of that. It's sociopathy, by the way.
And at the end of Series 2, his reputation was pretty tarnished at that point. I mean, so can you give any hint of what his reputation is after all that happened?
Oh, we can't really. I mean, the main thing to stress is that we knew we couldn't spend 3 entire episodes dealing with what happened last time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of housekeeping we have to do to get on with it, really. But really get to the stuff we want to do, which is then getting back together.
You know, after the end of the 3rd season, or at the end of the 2nd season, rather, there's of course the great cliffhanger. Does Series 3 also end in a cliffhanger?
Well, the answer to that question is itself a cliffhanger.
Only if you don't respond.
Well, I think you'll be watching the end of the last episode thinking, they wouldn't stop it there. And then they wouldn't stop it there, would they? And oh dear God, they wouldn't stop it there. And that'll go on for a while.
2 years.
Yes.
One thing I mustn't do, though, is do some kind of cliffhanger, which means we have to go back 18 months later and try and reproduce it again. We've done that twice, and it's very difficult.
I mean, is this the type of series that you can picture sort of, coming back to, taking breaks and then coming back and doing more and sort of having that sort of ongoing open...
I mean, the tradition of it.
No, I think as long as everybody wants to keep doing it, which they do at the moment, they want to do it and you want to keep doing it, then we will keep doing it. I mean, your idea was they start quite young, so you've got a long way.
And also, by the accident of how we make them, which wasn't the plan, there's a huge gap in between, as you know, where Benedict and Martin can go off and make big movies, or in Martin's case, one long movie.
Very long movie.
And then come back to the show that they love doing. So if we keep that model going, it's ideal, really.
It's interesting, isn't it? As a model for television, which you'd never have invented, the traditional model is you make an awful lot of episodes over 4 or 5 years, even 7 years, until you're utterly sick of it, and then stop and never make it again. It doesn't have to be the only way you make television. Why not make an awful lot of episodes over an awful lot of years?
Right.
And so that no one gets suffocated by it and strangled by it. For a few more gaps there.
There is something rather lovely about the idea of Benedict and Martin aged 55 around the same fireplace, but dealing with the stresses and strains and aches and pains of growing older, and actually becoming the age that we normally associate with Holmes and Watson. Yeah.
There is a little wail from the audience, the prospect of the big no.
But you will age with them.
Yes.
And the great kindness of age is as your face disintegrates, so does your eyesight.
They'll always
That was cheering, wasn't it? And I was just thinking what age I'll be when they're that age.
When they're blind, you will be too.
Let's turn this over to you guys. Let's see if we have some questions.
Project, yeah.
If you yell, we'll say it to the thing.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I appreciate the 3 of you and your brilliant work you do in Sherlock. I was wondering, are you considering doing other projects together in the future?
Well, we'd love to when we have time, but all our time is occupied doing the projects we're doing. Really. So, yeah.
But in future, yes. I mean, it's not the first time any of us have actually worked together. Obviously, Sue and I have raised children and a sitcom. And Mark and I have done the same. It's controversial, but it works. It's a medical miracle, frankly.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
octogenarianism.
I would really like to know what you guys have to say to Sir Conan Arthur Doyle. Were you given the chance to like hijack the TARDIS or travel back in time and meet him?
I'd say, why are you spelling your name like that?
I'd say, what are you doing with my TARDIS?
We owe everything to Conan Doyle. He's a genius writer, possibly the best writer of short stories there's ever been. And everything we do, we owe to him. So I'd like to say thank you. But by the way, spiritualism isn't true.
Yeah, it's true though. I'd actually, you would like to, he sort of at least affected to believe throughout his life that these stories didn't really matter and weren't very good. And you'd like to say they are simply the best storytelling of its kind. And you are sort of inventing television, which hasn't been invented yet. The idea of different adventures for the same characters is his idea on a weekly basis. He sort of invents popular television. And he's still a big hit in it. So
yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
No, so I think there's been quite a few
He's doing
times.
all right, Arthur.
Been quite a few times when you two have been stuck on your scripts, and actually you go, I just went back to the original story, and the answer was.
Oh, many times, many times. I was trying to work out a very good entrance in for Sherlock in episode 3 when we're just about to film, and I was thinking, film, listen to me, so old-fashioned. I just went back to these stories and found a great entrance for him. So he's covered it all. He's brilliant.
Are there any particular Doyle stories that you haven't done yet that you're sort of particularly eager to do eventually?
There are moments more than stories, because most of the stories I would give you about 20 minutes of screen time. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Like A Scandal in Belgravia. The first 20 minutes or half an hour of it is more or less a faithful adaptation of the original story, and that's what we've got. But there are stories also, the ones that aren't quite as good stories, but great ideas in them, like The Engineer's Thumb, which ends very suddenly, because I think someone came around Sir Arthur's house and said, would you like a game of cricket? And he said, yeah, I know. I'll just finish the Greek interpreter while I'm at it. 5 orange pips or
Shipwreck, another shipwreck. I'd love to do the Red-Headed League. That's what I want. So I can wear a red wig to cover up the gaps. And the Speckled Band is your thing.
Our Speckled Band is genius. If you haven't read the Speckled Band, go and read the Speckled Band. It makes no sense at all, but there is something exciting on every page. When I first read that when I was very young, 38 or something, I remember thinking, it just doesn't get better than that. It's amazing. It makes no sense at all. It keeps a snake in a safe, but it's brilliant. So if you haven't read it, 2 things you must do is you must go and read the Speckled Band, and you must go and watch The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. If you like our show, you'll love that.
Wait, Benedict and Martin are here. What a lovely surprise.
Hi, I'm Christina. Wow, that's loud. My question sort of spins off something you just answered. If you could write any episode, not necessarily based on any story, what would it be?
Well, we're sort of doing that, really. I mean, we've always, we just sort of take the bits that we like more than adapting full stories, so there isn't really anything. I mean, we're always thinking about big storylines, and because they're movie-sized stories, so we're trying to think of a story with a scale that deserves that sort of length. But
because sometimes you put bits in and they come out again, don't they? I'm sure that.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
It's just finding the right.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, going back to The Private Life, you want your sort of Loch Ness Monster story. You want some really great big thing, a bit like the aeroplane in Scandal in Belgravia. It's a really clever thing that appears to be. I'm saying this because Steve wrote it. It appears to be inconsequential, and at the end you get this fantastic reveal with a great big plane full of dead people, and that's the sort of thing we're looking for. More planes full of corpses.
Yeah. I'll just tell you how production works on that. So Stephen was finishing the script, and I'm trying to find information on the script because we're in pre-production. I'm going, anything you can tell me, any clues, anything we need to get? Yeah, can you get me a jumbo?
with corpses. Actually, that is one of the very funniest things we ever did. That night of filming, it was just me and Benedict and all these extras, and Stephen arrived from Doctor Who, went straight into first class and fell asleep for the rest of the shoot. We had all these people being dead, and they were being very, very good dead because they just went to sleep. And then in the middle of a very good take, I particularly remember one of the corpses just went. You didn't get a free biscuit. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Henry. Love the show. Benedict put on a lot of muscle mass for Star Trek. Was there any concern from you guys that this physical transformation would make him no longer look like Sherlock Holmes?
Well, to be honest, I tell you a strange thing. In the second series, he put on a lot of muscle for Frankenstein on stage, and he did look a bit bulkier, didn't he? But this year, no. I think he's put the muscle on, but he still looks very trim. And actually, it's absolutely true. He just gets more handsome every year. Totally dispassionately.
It was towards the end of the second series when he was going towards Parade's End,
Yes.
and he was trying to put on weight.
Yeah.
And we kept seeing him trying to shove Kate.
It's a difficult thing, but he's grown into that. He looks really very dashing now, very heroic.
It's an interesting phenomenon you should look at. I'm starting to notice it more and more. Is people get better looking as they get more famous. It's true. Both so much more handsome.
Terrible life lesson.
Is there any possibility of, with Irene Adler not being in season 3, any possibility of any hints of romance for Sherlock? Is he even interested remotely?
I think he really is, to be honest. I mean, sex for Sherlock, it happens up here. You know, sex is brain work for him. So, I mean, romance. Imagine a romance with Sherlock Holmes. Dear God, he'd poison his girlfriend just as he would work. Look, she's dead. Hooray! So I know maybe he already has. You know, the Irene Adler thing was a very, very particular thing. You know, that somebody gets to him in whatever way she got to him, because neither of them seemed particularly interested in sex at all, which must have made they just like betraying each other, trying to get each other killed. So that's probably not a good relationship. That's normal.
That's most of them, I think.
Yes. Not in the first year.
Go ahead.
Real quick, using the power of suggestion, Benedict Cumberbatch as the Master. Just throwing it out there.
Do you think maybe my life is complicated enough as it is?
There's a little more. Based off their intellectual personas, who do you think would solve a mystery faster? Sherlock Holmes, Batman, or the Doctor?
Batman, no, he'd be absolutely lost compared to Sherlock Holmes and the Doctor, obviously. I don't know. I think the crime would not get solved while they had to bitch fight with each other. Oh, you're Sherlock Holmes. Oh, brilliant. I've already spotted my split screwdriver, but never mind. Get out.
I love these questions because they're really the same questions I used to ask when I was about 5, saying, who would win out of a fight between a Stegosaurus and a Tyrannosaurus? It's the same sort of argument.
Yeah.
So who would win?
Very clearly. I like Batman, by the way. I just liked him off because I don't work in his show.
Speaking of the Doctor, you're in the middle of casting. And, you know, there's some online rumors that, that there could be a woman considered for random online speculation, or is there anything to that? And could the Doctor ever be a woman?
Benedict is terrible. You really saw this out.
I can't believe you said that.
Don't pass it on.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Danielle. I wanted to ask about Sherlock.
Really glossy hair.
Okay. I wanted to ask about Sherlock and Molly's dynamic. Like, are we as an audience going to be seeing more of a friendship being evolved, or is their relationship just going to come to a standstill?
Are you reading a question or just checking your phone?
No, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, they are friends. She is one of the very, very small number of people he trusts. She's one of the very small number of people he likes. And if you watch the scenes between Sherlock and Molly, apart from the very beginning, she always wins. She always wins. She makes him apologise. She humanises him. She tells him off. Wait till she see what she does next time. I mean, I don't think they're going to end up dating. Two sociopaths in one relationship would not be a good idea. You know, it's a proper friendship they have.
It's not going to go the way Tumblr thinks it's going to go.
And the place that we got to at the end of writing about where he comes to her for help, and he really means that. You know, it's quite touching. I think the way it develops. Molly becomes one of the few people that he does actually trust.
We love Molly. Yeah, do you know, it felt at the very beginning of this, we did sort of say we won't add anything to Sherlock Holmes, we'll just update it. But we had Molly in the first episode, and Luke really was so good. And you had an idea for a point for how to introduce Moriarty. And it just grew under its own steam. If you can grow under your own steam, that's a ridiculous expression.
You know, season 1 was so good, and season 2, I think, was even better. I know this is a hard question to answer since you're so close to it, but how do you think the 3rd season will compare to what you've seen so far?
Either we're going to sound defeatist or very appallingly arrogant. I think that I made my choice a long time ago. I think it's really good. I think it's different. It's moved on a bit. I think even as you saw in that little scene, there's something there's slightly more human. I think it's slightly more real. But I think we've got some scenes in this that we would never have contemplated putting in any previous series.
But also, I mean, a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun in all of them, and even though it has a very dark sort of beginning with the whole idea of Sherlock coming back, there's some of our favourite stuff is in this series, and just whole scenes that were great fun to write and to make, and to see like that one. And actually, the idea of something like, what if Sherlock was John's best man? It's just an inherently funny idea.
Well, I remember reading the stories, and Dr. Watson got married in the second one. And I remember thinking, does that mean Sherlock Holmes was the best man? How did we miss that? Please don't hold out on us, we've got to see that. So now we have, and it's everything I think. I mean, it's a very unusual episode, that, but I think it's everything you'd hope it would be.
We have time for one more question.
Oh, brilliant. Make it a brilliant.
Hello, my name's Rebecca, and I was just wondering, personally, what was your favorite episode or moment from the first 2 seasons of Sherlock?
You're just going to mention your own.
I think, I love probably my absolute favourite moments would be the last 20 minutes of the 2 finales. You know, the swimming pool scene at the end of The Great Game, and the last 20 minutes really of Reichenbach as it wrapped up and up and up and up are probably my favourite moments. As a whole episode, I probably conceitedly would plump for Scandal, because I love really.
I would too. I think Scandal is our best one. It's just a complete piece of work. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It does everything you want it to do. It's emotionally very charged. It's tremendously satisfying, and actually in its heart very simple. I think you look at it and think there's hardly anyone in that story. It just has a complete sense of its own drive and completeness. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think Paul's and the sheep scene. I like the sheep scene. Very funny outtake that one day we'll show you.
This is very, very funny. We must have mentioned as well amazing contribution of the rest of our team over the last 3 years, and particularly Paul McWigan, who was the main director on the first 2 seasons, who, in terms of establishing the visual identity of the show, is tremendously important and really one of the things that got it noticed in the first place.
Well, Sherlock premieres on PBS Masterpiece early next year. That wasn't quite the roar of the final one. And thank you guys for coming out.